going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. Conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We are back. I know it was an abrupt. We left you kind of abruptly. That was on me, which I will get into and I will explain.
Somehow you're
momentarily.
blame it on me.
I'll find a way.
The last time that we were here, Andy was dying, and
yes.
he did die, but we
Yes.
resurrected him. He's back to life, and
Yes, many a small barnyard animals were sacrificed to bring me back.
That is true.
But yeah, we're back. Again, apologies for leaving so abruptly and not again giving you any updates. When you're dead, it's kind of hard to get onto your social media.
I had all these great movies lined up for us. I had a lot of cool
Rob was Rob was the most disappointed because
I was like, what?
He's like that wife that prepares the dinner and like the husband calls and said, hey, me and the fellows from work are going out in the town,
Yeah,
like, how long I slaved in the kitchen
dinners by myself. It's just kind of how.
Right, it's like how long I slaved in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It's like you don't even appreciate what I do.
And then I'm trying to tell my wife about these awesome movies, and she's like, "Yeah, those sound terrible." It's like,
yeah, there was no one there to appreciate.
But
Robert.
I will say, I have been showing her a few movies that, we're slowly pushing her into older and older movies. I've been taking her on these tripped into the 80s. So she's enjoyed. I showed her When Harry Met Sally, which is a great rom-com. We actually probably I would say that's probably the best rom-com that's ever been. It's probably the top of that genre.
Yeah, I would say and I would say that that's the quintessential rom-com.
Yeah.
There have been rom-coms before, there have been rom-coms after, but when you think of a rom-com, it's like it's particularly a good one where it's like it tells an interesting story,
and it's timeless too. It's not a dated one.
Because it's still very topical because because the central idea is presented within the first 20 minutes of the movies where it's like men and women can't be friends.
Yeah. So I got her to watch that. She loved it. She watched Beverly Hills Cop. And we ended up watching all those films. She loved those.
Mm-hmm.
What else did I show her? Ferris Bueller's Day Off. She liked that.
Oh, classic, yeah, of course. Who watches Ferris Bueller's Day Off and says I hate it?
I can't. I
nobody. That's the answer. Nobody.
That is a huge. I love that movie.
Right.
What else did I get her to watch that she?
Because because that movie is every kid's fantasy of the perfect day off from school.
Oh, dude. Every time I was sick from school or that I didn't go to school, I watched that movie. So I've probably seen that about 50 times. What else did I show her? She loved Back to the Future trilogy. She's a fan of. I showed her. I guess it's not 80s, but I did show her Cliffhanger and Demolition Man. She loved those movies. So we're getting her there. Eventually we're gonna get her into the 70s. And then into the.
Yeah, you're getting her there. I like it. Whether she likes movies or not, I really don't care.
You don't give a shit. But for me, it would help me if.
I know, right? For you, for you, it's a quality of life thing because it would just make your life so much better if your wife was at least somewhat interested in the things that you're interested in. I feel
like I'm huddling in a closet watching movies by myself most of the time.
Right, and and for you, it's not even the pornographic type.
God, I mean, it's like I want to watch a black and white Western, and it's just like, I'm just like huddling in a corner with my phone. I'm like, oh God.
All right. But anyways, yeah. I mean, just to let you guys in on what's been going on. Yes, I did catch the the coof. Supposedly, I don't know. I don't trust doctors. Um, but I did. One of the telltale signs is shortness of breath, and it might be semantics, but I wouldn't necessarily categorize what I had that shortness of breath. It was just I just my breathing was labored. Um, because I was trying to get full breaths in, but it just took a lot more effort than usual. And so, yeah, I had to be checked into the hospital. I was given oxygen and put on, antivirals and given steroids for the pneumonia that I had because they technically categorize it as like COVID pneumonia.
Well,
I mean,
it's a lower
especially
respiratory
if you get an
infection.
infection in the lungs.
Yeah,
What was
it's a
that?
lower respiratory infection, which is essentially pneumonia.
Yeah.
Which is what makes it is why it is technically dangerous when you do get it if you have like the full on symptoms.
Hmm.
Which is why it's killing old people and pretty significantly
Right.
because or even people that have that have those you know they already have other health problems, and
Right. The
then you add pneumonia on
comorbidities.
top of that, like they're already like on death's door.
Right.
Whereas like someone like you don't really technically have a lot of those health issues, and
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, I say that I'm healthy, but I always qualify. I always qualified it as I'm in relative health. I mean, I'm not saying I'm like it wasn't perfect. I wasn't some like perfect physical specimen, but
right.
relatively, I was a healthy for my age.
Yeah, well, it's same
And
here.
so
Like I'm not Mr. Olympia, obviously, but it's like when I get sick, like I'm only down for like maybe a day or two. If I ever did end up catching this thing, which I highly doubt I will, um,
mm,
it's like it's more than likely at my age range and with the health that I am in, I really don't fear for like my safety. It's
mm,
I'm not saying that it's like that I want to get it or that it doesn't exist. That's not what I'm saying. But um, you got to live your life.
yeah, and through my because again yeah, the thing that got me into the hospital was really, I mean, yes, the labored breathing would have eventually got me there, but really it was this fever that wouldn't break. Um,
That's always dangerous. If you let that go, that
yeah,
can cause brain
and
damage.
yeah, it's just like I would get fevers, and so I would take a Tylenol or whatever, and it would go down, but then it would go back up again, and it was just kind of like this up and down thing, and finally it got to the point where I was having like a fever of like 99 to like 104 range, and it
Jesus.
just yeah, and just wouldn't go down, and so we consulted my cousin who's a doctor, and she was like, yeah, get him, just get him to the hospital right now,
Yeah.
because it just wouldn't go down, and so I got admitted, and they I was checked in eventually through emergency, um, and yeah, I spent better part of a week in just in bed watching TV, being hooked up to like IVs, and had the oxygen in my nose, uh, and actually the hospital that I went to wasn't that the the, the food wasn't that bad. I have to say the menu was pretty comprehensive.
All
There
right.
what because usually hospital food doesn't have the best reputation,
That's
um,
true.
but this one actually wasn't too bad. I mean, like there wasn't anything that I ate twice on that menu. Let's just I want to
All
put it
right.
that way.
All right.
I think the most memorable thing I had there was like a 3 cheese tortellini in a nice cream sauce.
That's fancy for
Yeah, I
hospital.
know, right?
Damn, dude. Like, Maybe I should,
Well, yeah, because I went to UCLA Ronald Reagan
Okay.
Hospital. Yeah, like right by the UCLA campus. And so yeah, it was and then and I mostly bounced back pretty quick. The only negative outcome from my hospitalization was that because I wasn't allowed out of my room. I was like I was trapped in my room and people would come and go,
Yeah.
checking up in on me like what's the word I'm looking for? Check in on me.
They were kind of like monitoring you and like kind of.
Yeah, they were monitoring me, and like every once in a while, they come and make my bed or give me a fresh gown or give me a
Yeah.
sponge bath or whatever, or switch out my IVs, um, or draw blood for me. Yeah, but they just come in every once in a while.
Yeah.
For that kind of stuff. But yeah, I wasn't allowed to go out, so I was like trapped in my room. I try to I try to do as much, I try to get as much movement as possible. But when you have labored breathing and you have a pretty comfortable hospital bed, you end up lying in it a lot more than you think. And so when I got back, one of the things that I suffered the most was muscle loss, particularly in my extremities.
Yeah.
Um,
I saw that.
So yeah, so for a while everything was just a little bit harder to do. Whether it was going to the going wiping my ass after the bathroom, or feeding myself, or putting on clothes, like grooming myself was kind of hard because especially particularly after a shower, which was kind of maddening. Because after I take a shower and then I would try to comb my hair or whatever, or shave my face, I start sweating. It's which you kind of defeat the purpose of me showering.
Yeah.
Um,
Sponge bath.
yeah, I know. I missed those sponge baths. It was just so easy. Although I did take care of the undercarriage myself, so get your minds out of the gutter.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm coming through to this, with experience of a, relatively young person. Um, but I was never worried about whether I was gonna die or not. I know my parents and my sisters, they were worried. I mean, they would call me every single day. They would video call me every single day just to see my face.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I was
and then
constantly, like trying to talk to you, just not because I was scared that you were gonna die or anything. I just,
right.
I
Yeah, just
was,
checking in on me.
but you're sick. I was concerned, and I wanted to know how you were progressing.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I know, like me and my wife, we were concerned just to one make sure that you're okay. I mean, here, like, it's not like Korea, like where, like, you go to the hospital for, like, you get a cut. It's like, oh, let's go to the hospital. It's where it's like here, it's, when you go to the hospital, that's a serious fucking thing. It's, and mainly because when you were telling me, like, how bad your fever was and it wasn't really going down. I mean, that's concerning just because that can cause potential brain damage, and if
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not taken care of. Um, so that doesn't seem to be the case. Thank God. And you know, definitely, I'm happy that you're back. Just for the sake of you being back, but man, I'm happy to be back today. I was
Yeah,
really
I
looking.
mean, really, I think Rob was suffering the most because he didn't have this outlet to because um,
I didn't
especially
honestly. I This month I didn't know what to do.
yeah, no, yeah, I think Rob was I think you were the most stir crazy because I don't know, I don't know, not to say that I'm any better or whatever, but I think I'm just better fort- fortified to be by myself. People were texting me while I was in the hospital, and they're like, "Oh, how's everything going? Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." You know, um, and people, they were asking me if I needed anything. It's like, "No, I'm okay." And that was kind of, I'm not just. make myself out to be like some macho person or whatever, but I'm just I I'm just more comfortable being by myself. Um,
Yeah,
you know.
and I get it. I mean, for the most part, I think I am too.
Uh,
But I know since we've really started the podcast, like this actually has been a good outlet for me in a lot of
uh,
ways. We've done a lot of fun things that I've enjoyed, and it's just kind of nice on like Tuesday night. I know what I'm going to be doing,
mhm.
and it's kind of like a nice routine
Right.
that I
Yeah, and
really
like
enjoy. And
it's fun to get together with friends and talk about.
yeah, I mean, it's like
Yeah, yeah.
I have like pretty much like three or four friends that I see on a consistent basis. Obviously,
Uh-huh.
you're one of those. And like when you went down, I'm like, a lot of my other friends are busy too. I'm like, damn, dude, I have like, yeah, I have my wife. But she, I work in the mornings a lot of the time. She works at night, and I didn't really have an outlet. I wasn't really sure what to do, and I'm kind of working. I was trying to maybe like, okay, well, Andy's gonna come back. I know that, so
Hmm.
I've been kind of maybe potentially like coming up with some ideas for us,
Hmm.
and I have a great movie lineup set up for the rest of the year for the live streams. So I did stuff, but like I felt like I had no one to like bounce ideas off of.
Right. Yeah, no, like even during my downtime, I'll still like talk. Uh, Glad to, I was still thinking about ideas for the podcast. Think about guests or whatever, or episode ideas. Really quickly, I don't know. Dark Avenger. Well, ain't this something? Y'all back and Robert's got his beer.
I always.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the one of the few days out of the week I don't really drink. Everyone obviously we're on Tuesdays.
Uh-huh.
People think I'm an alcoholic. This is actually
Uh-huh.
the one of the days I don't really drink throughout the week. This is the day that I drink.
Yeah. Andy, glad to see you up and running. Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. Yeah. And your punk ass could have hit me up, jerk. Well, I'm sorry, Dark Avenger. Well, I was, you know, on the brink of death.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we thank you for chiming in. Like that's obviously we love the interaction, and yeah, it's good to have Andy back. It's good. And I think we have some fun stuff to talk about today.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, yeah, because today is just kind of like what we miss. Kind
it,
of one of those kind
Nothing
of
happened in the
episodes.
news at all, Andy. It was a boring month.
Yeah. No. I mean, like, yeah, like I mean, nothing. Like I know I was checking my social media and there was nothing. It was just like nothing. Kind of reverted back to cat pictures and selfies. Um,
Man, it was great.
it was just it's just so quiet. I mean, really, it's just really boring. Um,
Let's see. I mean, while you were gone, I kind of I mean, I didn't really do much per se. It's like I didn't like, invent something or whatever or do anything super exciting. But what I did do is, I spent a lot of time, you know, watching kind of like, kind of checking off movies off of my list that I have, the great classics that everyone talks about that I hadn't seen yet.
mhm.
I signed up for the Criterion streaming site, which has a lot of great classics and foreign films too. So mainly, honestly, the big selling point for me, they have
Mhm.
the entire Kurosawa collection. But it's not just the
Mm.
movies, which is which would have been fine enough by itself.
Uh-huh.
But what's great about it is they also have a lot of they talk about the people that are talking about the movies, talking about like how like uh, you know, experts on Kurosawa. They have interviews with Kurosawa while he was still alive, talking
Mhm.
about his movies, and that goes with like a lot of different directors. Like they, what's kind of cool. I've been watching some of Jackie Chan's old movies, like Police Story, Drunken
Classic.
Master, and they talk with Jackie Chan about like his, his whole story and like some of the cool stuff about his movies.
Mhm.
Um, I have to recommend. We'll have to talk about Police Story at some point because that movie is fucking awesome. Especially
Yeah, I mean it's
young
been a
Jackie.
while since saw it, but yeah, that was a really fun movie.
Yeah, young Jackie Chan, Hong Kong like kung fu movies are
Uh,
fantastic. I love them.
yeah. Although Jackie Chan's been kind of well, he's been getting some backlash from fans because he's becoming like more pro like CCP. Um,
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but you know what?
I
I love his.
mean, I don't know, because it's like how can you turn back on the system that like made you into like this global superstar? Um, and just and especially like there was troubling signs from the very beginning, like when the handoff happened back in like the late '90s, from England to
97.
mainland
Yeah,
China.
97.
I mean, it wasn't right away, but I think it was just a few years ago where Jackie Chan wrote like that opinion piece or whatever, talking about like, oh, too much freedom isn't good, and
Part of me thinks too, and this is where like when it comes to Hollywood, because unfortunately there is now what they consider the global market. So they're not really caring about United States audiences anymore, even though we do make the best movies. But we sell a lot of our movies overseas now, like go to
right.
China and all these other countries. And he is an actor, and he was part of like the was it the Beijing like opera essentially, for a bunch of years before he started doing movies. So, but like I said, he's an actor, like, and he's still doing movies. He probably is one of the people yeah, he's from that area, kind of, and he wants to sell his movies.
I
I
mean,
kind
yeah,
of like.
I get his position,
I'm not
because
saying that I agree with his position. I don't
well,
think
no, no,
it's
no, like no,
right.
I mean, like not necessarily the position he's espousing about uh, you know not want having too much freedom is bad, or he's petitioning to become part of the CCP.
Yeah.
Just like this position of that he's in as this actor who's benefited from capitalism, and now is like kind of turning his back because in China there is no separation from the government. If you
No.
own a bit, if you own a noodle shop, the government is a part owner of that
Noodle shop.
noodle
Yeah.
shop. Um,
No.
and so,
I'm
like
not.
similarly, those studios, I mean, especially particularly in Hong Kong, that enjoyed so much autonomy while they were still a colony of Great Britain. Now they're under the ever watchful eye of the CCP, and like now like the CCP is a partner in those movie studios like Golden Harvest or what have you. Those ones that were able to flourish, back in the day, but now they're under this strict the strict thumb of of the CCP.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that way, I don't envy Jackie Chan's position where it's like where he has to kind of make these decisions. It's like whether he plays ball and still has a career, or he becomes what was that one Chinese actress that like they basically made her disappear because like she wouldn't pay her taxes or I'm sure some sort of thing.
I forget her name, but yeah, I know what you're talking about, and it's just
Yeah.
like it's unfortunate because there's a lot of those actors and studios that are just playing ball with China, and in a sense, like it's the movie business. I get why they're doing it because they're in it to make money, and if the money's coming from China, they're gonna go for it, and they're gonna do their song and dance to get that money. Do I agree with it? No. Like I said, a movie that I refuse to watch is the remake of Mulan, because that was
Oh
done
yeah.
like they're just a few miles away from like the concentration camps they have with like the
Yeah,
Uyghurs.
with the Uyghur Muslims. Yeah, it was just
Yeah,
the
I
filming
refuse.
location was a stone's throw away from those camps.
Yeah, I refuse to support that movie. That's no. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not watching it. I don't care about it. I will never watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, plus
But
no
I
singing.
kind
How can
of
you have a Mulan movie without singing?
yeah.
Like even
I'll just watch the
even
original.
fucking the Aladdin movie tried to incorporate some of the original music.
Yeah, I'll just stick to the original.
I know. I just stick to the animated stuff. It was better, anyways.
But no, I've mainly like I said, I've just been like watching some like really great movies. I watched Alien and Aliens. I guess I had never watched those for whatever reason. I guess but those are very interesting movies. And what else have I watched?
Oh, really quickly. Hey, what's that? What's that? One chick in Alien 2, like the female marine.
Oh God, I can't remember her name, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. Do you know that she plays the foster mom in Terminator 2?
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yes.
that's her.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out.
I promise you. You can look up the cast.
Unrecognizable.
No, I know, it's funny because like there was a little bit of a commotion made because she is like this Jewish woman who's playing like Hispanic in Aliens.
She's the modern day Eli Wallach then. Oh my God! I never would have guessed that she was not.
No, I just found out this information fairly recently as well.
Holy!
But yeah, I went to Aliens. I looked at the IMDb, the cast list, and it's like, you would think it's like some Hispanic name, but it's like no, it's like Goldsmith or whatever. ADL, please don't cancel me.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! As soon as I made that joke, our watch count went down to 0.
My mind's blown, dude. Like I had no clue.
Yeah. I'll look it up for you right now, really fast.
Oh my God! No way. But I loved Aliens. That was what's great about this, and we'll definitely do a review on these movies later on. But where you go from a kind of like a sci-fi, slow-moving horror film, and then they keep the lore of the movie and they ramp it up and they make it like
they make an action movie,
like an action adventure film. I was like, this is with what James Cameron did with what Ridley Scott did. I was blown away. That it was really interesting.
Yeah, the actress's name is Jeanette Goldstein. I wasn't far off.
Wow.
Yeah, she plays the foster mom in Terminator 2.
Wow. I'm shocked.
Yeah, Private Vasquez.
Wow.
She played Private Vasquez.
She's great. I loved Vasquez. She was one of my favorite characters.
Right?
I mean, outside of like Bill Paxton, who is great.
Oh yeah, game over, man. Game over.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
there's something about that line, like some sort of like tidbit or like trivia. I don't know if it's like he ad-libbed it or something, but
I think it was an ad-lib. Because I was listening to a review on that, and I think that line was ad-lib, which is great. Bill Paxton's one of those like guys that was never like the lead guy per se,
Yeah,
but
he was always a side character or supporting character.
which is like I think he could have been a lead, given the right circumstances.
Right. Well, I think the he was the lead in the television version of Training Day.
There was a television version of Training Day.
Yeah, but it wasn't about like Denzel's character, or maybe it was prior. Maybe it was like Denzel's character coming up.
I can't
And
imagine that being any good.
Bill Paxton. I just remember that it was a thing, but I don't think it lasted after the first season.
Oh, it was a full. It wasn't like a TV movie. It was like a full on like show.
Yeah, it was a show.
No
And,
way! I had no idea that. That actually might be interesting to look at. Maybe we get
Yeah.
maybe our idea about like the Sandman.
Maybe, yeah, because that's what my thinking was too. That Bill Paxton was playing, it was kind of Alonzo's education in the narcotics game, and Bill Paxton plays Scott Glenn's character, the Sandman.
That movie.
Yeah. To this day, I don't think any other person or any other movie reviewer has come up with the.
I haven't seen. I've looked all over the place. I've scoured.
Yeah,
YouTube.
the theory that the Sandman is actually Glenn Scott's character, who was actually a former narcotics detective, who was probably Alonzo's mentor.
Yep.
And so.
Yeah, I mean that. God, I love that movie. That.
Yeah. So yeah. So like the whole scene of them going to serve the warrant on the supposed guy, looking for the Sandman. That was just like some sort of ruse to throw off Ethan Hawke's character. But the whole time, Alonzo knew that it was that guy, Glenn Scott's character that they met in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that movie.
Yeah, it really. Dark Avenger again. Robert, you haven't seen the Aliens movie? What the hell?
Well, I've seen it now. I've seen it multiple times because I loved it so much. I just, for whatever reason, it was just not a movie I had seen, but now I've seen it and I love it.
There you go.
That's the thing. Like, think about this. I've really only been doing the movie reviews for about like 3 years, so I've really only started this about like 3 years ago. I mean I've watched movies obviously,
Mm-hmm.
like there's a bunch that I've seen, but like actually like going through like some of the greatest movies of all time and like a lot of like the cult classics and stuff that I just had never seen. Before I had never been interested in them, but now I'm kind of going through stuff and I'm working on reviews for them and just checking stuff off my list. And those are movies that I had not seen, and I know that they're good movies and they lived up to everything that I had heard about.
It's actually pretty interesting. There's other podcasts that I watch. I've showed it to you a bunch of times, but they themselves have started doing movie reviews, and they've actually reviewed a lot of the movies that we already reviewed.
And I've noticed that where like we've started something, and I'm not sure if people are watching us and like, hey, that sounds like a good movie to watch.
Yeah, or it's like more like parallel thinking.
Yeah.
But it was just funny because it was like. Because one of the co-hosts of that podcast, like he has not, he is like, the co-host will make some sort of movie reference, and it will just go over his head because he doesn't like really like watching movies.
Yeah.
And so they made this agreement that that the co-host, like, she would make a list of like her like personal favorite movies, like classic movies, like kind of like the ones that are always being referenced or people always quote.
Like like Sunset Boulevard or Casablanca or Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's always like or Aliens. There's a lot of like references from there.
Uh-huh. But yeah, I think Aliens was one. Yeah, they did Tremors.
I have
Um,
not seen Tremors.
oh, that's a great one. Although the guy on that podcast, he didn't particularly enjoy it, but not necessarily for the themes or the message of the movie or the message that you can kind of extract from the movie, but just kind of like the inconsistencies to like the rules of the universe set forth in that movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like,
Like
and even
it was
like,
more ticky tacky.
and it's weird because like then there's like movies that like I've seen that you haven't seen that I'm trying that I want you to see, and I'm sure there's a whole like list of movies that like you know about that I've never seen. Like when you showed me Best of the Best, I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be
I know,
garbage.
right? I know.
And
I
like,
totally,
I
I
cried.
totally.
I literally cried during that movie because I was like, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen, dude.
Yeah, and I fucking trapped you with that movie because I let you watch that god awful trailer, and I
Oh,
didn't
the
say
trailer is
shit.
terrible.
I didn't try to defend it or nothing. You just thought it was gonna be schlock.
And trust me, I love schlock. You know how much
I
I love
know.
schlock.
Yeah, I fucking know you like schlock.
But I had when I watched it, I was like, oh shit, like this is not bad. This is good. And then like just that moment at the end, I was like, I was in tears, dude.
Yeah,
It was
that entire that ending scene is everything. It makes the entire movie.
I felt I was like, dude, this is one of the most touching moments in films like ever.
I know. It's yeah.
I can
Best of the
count the
Best
amount
is
of
a
times I've
genuinely
cried.
good movie. It's a genuinely good written movie.
There are 3 movies that I've cried at: Best of the Best, Pay It Forward, and Wind River.
Oh god.
And
Uh,
it's different crying. You know, it's
yeah,
like
yeah. I
where
get it.
like
I get yeah.
Best of the Best. I was like, it was happy tears. I was like, oh, this is just a very touching moment.
Uh huh.
Pay It Forward. I was like, oh my god, like the character that I cared about is dead, and it's
Wait, is that the
shocking.
Mel Gibson one? Oh
No,
no
like
no no! Pay
Kevin
it
Spacey
forward.
and
Pay
Dustin
it
Hoffman.
forward. Not pay back. Okay, pay it forward.
No, not Payback. That's a I like that movie too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
good,
Pay
but
it
I
forward.
like
Yeah.
it.
Right. Pay it forward. Yeah, that was a pretty sad ending.
And
Because
then
it
Wind
was so
River was
unexpected. It was so unexpected.
Wind River just like that
Oh god,
ripped my
that just
heart out.
fucking rips your guts out.
Oh,
Oh man,
that is
and
a risky
and
movie.
there's really no fucking preparation for that movie. Like even if you wanted to prep someone for what they're about to see, it's like
No, there's no
you
preparation.
can't because it will fucking ruin the movie. But it's like the only thing you can say to them is get ready to fucking just get ready to be eviscerated.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can say to them without like ruining the movie. It's like just get ready to be eviscerated.
Yeah. Do like a double feature. Start with Wind River and then have like a comedy that you're gonna laugh your ass off afterwards.
Yeah. You have the shot and then you have the chaser. Yeah,
Bingo.
Wind River's the shot, and then watch Dumb and Dumber afterwards. That's
Dude.
the chaser.
Yep.
Dark Avenger. Oh, hold on, we got a message. Dark Avenger says Robert is an ass.
That is true. I am an ass.
Yeah.
But
That's just
what all
like that's
people
like
want.
your opinion, Dark Avenger.
I should just rewatch Big Lebowski for like the billionth time. Fuck, dude. I actually have an interesting. Someone brought up an interesting theory about the Big Lebowski that I had never thought about, and it totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know how like the movie starts off with Sam Elliott as the stranger narrating everything, right?
Yeah.
And when you do eventually see him in the movie at the bar at the bowling alley,
Yeah, and he interacts with the dude.
The person that actually friend of the podcast, Dan the Man, he was saying that Sam Elliott's character, the stranger, is really like a Jiminy Cricket, and that he is actually the consciousness. He's the conscience of the dude, and it totally makes sense.
Wait, that the Sam Elliott's character is
He's
basically
like
the dude's conscience.
Yeah, he's like Jiminy Cricket.
Huh.
And like because how else would hit this would the stranger know about the whole story of what the dude is going through? And when you're at the bar, no one else is talking to him but the dude. And even like when Sam Elliott is talking, it's not that he's the one that's ordering the sarsaparilla. It's actually the dude that's ordering sarsaparilla for him, because later on in the movie, when he's driving, he's drinking what's something called not beer, which is essentially a sarsaparilla. It's a non-alcoholic beer. And so it's kind of like it's 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 his conscience.
Hmm.
And I had never noticed that before, and to me I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, that
I
makes a
always
lot.
thought he was a Clarence type figure.
Oh, like in It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah.
I mean that was,
Because like the only way he would know such a thing is if he had like kind of like the bird's eye perspective. Hence like kind of like God or like an angel or some sort of
well, he's
divine.
definitely like an ethereal figure of some sort, but like I didn't get the It's a Wonderful Life,
No. But I'm just saying like
but
yeah, like the only reason why uh the Sam Elliott character would know all these things is because like yeah, because he has like the whole bird's like he's like essentially like he's like God.
see, no, when that came about, because no one else talks to him, and I actually don't think anyone else sees him either.
Right, I guess, yeah, but then, yeah, because, like, okay, it's not an angel because, yeah, because, like, people were able to perceive Clarence. Um, but, yeah, like, he can still be a god character. Having, like, omniscience about, like, what Jeff Bridges' character is going through or how he's feeling or how he's able to tell, like, the entire story.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely works both ways. I'm just saying, like, but I was like, that's interesting. I had never thought of it that way,
Dark Avenger comments, that's true about the stranger.
and but man, I just that movie, the more I watch it, the more I love it.
Uh,
That's probably my favorite Coen Brothers movie.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Fargo are my favorites.
Yeah, I gotta watch Fargo again. It's been such a long time. I barely remember that movie.
We'll review Fargo. We haven't done that. Actually, might be a good one with my dad, because my dad loves Fargo.
Mm.
Oh gosh, don't you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you betcha.
Yeah. But that's pretty much what I've been doing this month. I've been watching movies. I started listening to this new great movie podcast, The Cinephiles. They're
Yeah, I still need to check that out. You sent me the link, I remember.
Yeah,
But,
well, because they've been doing a bunch of like movies where it's like, you know what, that's a good movie. I have never seen it, and just listening to the review, it's like, okay, this sounds like a fun movie. I'm gonna watch that. Or just even if it's a movie I've seen in a while, getting a different perspective has been nice.
mm-hmm.
So I've been doing that. That's pretty much it. Like I've been doing some gaming too, but it's mainly been movies this month, just because I got on a tangent with movies. So I've been watching all different types of stuff. Um, definitely there's some that I watched and I was like, that wasn't that good. Or there's a few where I'm like, we're gonna review this movie because it's says a lot. Um, but that's pretty much been my month. Nothing too special going on with me, but uh, there's been a lot going on in the news, obviously. But I know today is well, within 50 minutes, that will be the deadline for all the votes coming in, at least for
Mm.
like in-person voting. God knows. I mean, they're gonna have like what they have like 7 days after like that ballot.
Right, because they're doing mail-ins and they're not counting all the vote. They're not counting day of.
God, that's gonna be a disaster because I mean, people. I was working today. People were still turning in their ballots today.
Right,
I'm like,
and they changed the rules, so it's like as long as it's postmarked by today,
yeah, and
it'll be counted. And so like they have to give like the fucking counters like another. They have to give the counters a week to count all the ballots or whatever.
that's a horrible idea. Because I turned in my ballot like a week and a half ago.
Yeah, same.
Because I want to make sure that my ballot came in, by today, so it's counted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, my God, I really hope that. That's the one thing I kind of regret that obviously we didn't have the live streams throughout this past month where we could talk a little bit more about. Like I said, this is one of the only candidates I will probably ever support, which is Larry Elder.
Yeah.
It's obviously I voted for the guy. I voted for the recall because Gavin Newsom is awful and terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. The more people I talk to, like from all sides of the aisle, they hate Gavin Newsom. They want him gone.
Mm-hmm.
And different people have voted for different people, which is fine.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like as long as you voted yes for the recall,
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck who you It could have been Caitlyn Jenner. It could have been John Cox, and his stupid fucking bear. It could have been Kevin Faulkner,
honestly,
the mayor of San Diego. Whatever.
I don't think it will be, but it's
or Kevin Kiley, who I was also considering voting for Kevin Kiley. He's the on I think on the ticket or at least of the replacement candidates, he's the only one like that concurrently holds public office.
Yeah. It was funny. I was because I was at a dentist appointment yesterday, and I love my dentist. He's a great guy. It was funny. We ended up getting into a conversation, and it's funny. He's in Iran. He's from Iran. Like he grew up in Iran, like back in before the Islamic Revolution and stuff. Right. So he remembers when it was Iran used to be awesome. It was as close to being the U.S. without being the U.S. And
right, in a way, it was kind of it was very much like Lebanon then, because Lebanon, it was referred to as the Paris of the East.
Right, and so his family moved here before the Iranian Revolution.
Yeah.
But he's BLM is all bullshit, and it's I hate these I'm not saying that there's never a point where where the police don't always overstep their bounds. I know there's times where that happens, but most of the time it's all bullshit, and Gavin Newsom sucks, and I was like, dude, you're preaching to the choir here. It's
I know. Because the whole because a very good point that Larry Elder brings up every time there's a camera in front of him is that he talks about all the people that that cut commercials for Gavin Newsom. Warren, Bernie, Obama. I mean, now you have Biden. You have Biden coming out to California to stump for him. But they never say that he's done such a good job for X, Y, or Z. It's always just this is a Republican recall, and Republicans are trying to grab power, or Republicans are trying to abuse the recall system. But it's just but an important point that that Larry Elder always brings up. It's a third of the signatures collected were from independents or Democrats. The very people that voted for Gavin Newsom, just 2 years ago.
Yeah, and it's
and then even Gavin Newsom, he never defends himself on his record. It's I brought crime down this much percent, or I stopped homelessness this much percent. He never talks about his successes because he has no successes.
I can't. Now it was funny because like this is the conversation I was having with my dentist the other day, where it's like we were both like we both said it's like what has this guy done? Like there's nothing. Like I can name, like on both hands, like shit that has gotten worse since he's come into office, which I didn't think was even possible. After like we had the terrible like Jerry Brown, who was god awful in the '70s,
Yeah, Governor
but we
Moonbeam.
decided to vote this guy back in for some reason.
Right.
Um, but it's just like nothing's gotten better. It's gotten worse, and I don't know if you've noticed this, Andy, but have you noticed like just about like a month before the like once like the recall was like okay it's the recall is going to happen and like voting was kind of sort of starting, have you noticed how like some of the homeless encampments have gone away?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I can tell you in my neighborhood where it was like really bad, like right on like my main street here on the Oxnard,
Hmm.
where Oxnard and like just between Sepulveda and Hazeltine. I mean, it was a whole like it was like a whole like couple of blocks
Yeah, that what was that?
of homeless encampment.
Yeah,
But like,
on Kester, like pretty close to Bill's Burger.
that's
Um,
right.
there was that really pimped out homeless van, with the guy that he was it was a van, and he had like one of those window air conditioning units cut
Yep,
out in.
yep.
Um,
They're gone. They're
it's gone.
completely gone. No, they're no longer there.
Yeah,
And it
I
when
heard I heard that prior to Biden's visit, some of the businesses were directed to clear out the homeless people that might be camped out in front of their uh, camped out on the route that the
I would have
president was
done
going
none
to
of that
come.
shit. I would have show I wouldn't have done that for Biden. Fuck him.
Yeah, no, exactly. Um,
But
really
that,
quickly,
I guarantee that this was Newsom's doing. He's like, well, I
no, of
can't let
course.
them see. We're gonna put them somewhere for he's gonna spend maybe $1 billion on trying to get them to another location, and they're gonna I'm gonna get people are gonna forget in the month, and they're gonna just like once the recall doesn't happen, I'll still be in office, and they're gonna just drift back to where they were at.
Yeah. Really quickly, some uh, chats. Very Dark Avenger. Why? Very bad idea about the mail-in ballot. Well, it is what it is, and I have a little more trust. I have slightly more trust in the mail than I do those fucking illegal ballot boxes in random places.
The ballot boxes and the people that come by and like, hey, I know like you're that prey on the elderly and stuff. That's like, we're
Right?
gonna
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
ballot.
Ballot harvesters. Yeah. Fuck that shit.
Fuck those people.
Also, yeah. Also, not Caitlyn Jenner. It's like, well, yeah, duh.
No,
God
that
no.
that's essentially that's voting in the same shit. Like
Yeah. Yeah. It's
we
what is it?
lose the argument.
It's voting. Yeah, it's voting the same shit, but just with it's literally a pig with lipstick. Um, yeah. And also a last one from Dark Avenger. Good job for Larry Elder, Rob.
Yeah, I mean the guy cares about California.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about. Like, yeah, he's not like a career politician. He's not. I don't think he's had any like office before. But the guy has been a he knows politics. He understands. Been a political pundit for what majority of my life.
Hmm.
Uh, Probably longer than that, and he I think will make a huge difference. And to be honest, I would rather, like I said, if we just start with like one thing, let's fix one thing. The
Hmm.
homeless issue is like I think one of the biggest. Um, that would be huge,
Hmm.
and I think that would if we can start with that, that'll be like I said that to me is like a huge win.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if it wasn't Larry Elder, I'd probably be leaning towards Kevin Faulkner.
Yeah,
Just because of what he did for San Diego and like reducing homelessness and all that stuff.
yeah. It's funny because
Uh,
I like within like
but
the
yeah,
last
like
couple of
really, I
weeks,
just want
I saw a lot
one
of
thing done. I
Faulkner.
just want one thing done. I mean,
Like I said, one thing. If we can just get like one thing done, because there's so many different problems, and if we can get more than one thing done, great. But I honestly, let's focus on like one problem. Let's get that done. We'll get another problem fixed after that, and
mhm,
because I know that our government runs slowly, it takes time, and there's going to be a lot of resistance to Larry Elder because we do
mhm,
have it's still, even though he's a Republican as the governor, there's a huge swath of bureaucracy and Democrat backlash that's going to happen. So it's
mhm.
going to be hard on the guy.
Yeah. Comment from Dark Avenger. Good analogy, Andy. Well, I tend to have those. Um, but I don't remember the analogy that I gave, but I'll still take the compliment. Just so you know that there is a bit of a time delay from like when we speak to when like when you see it of about like 30 seconds. So
But yeah, no, it's
I don't remember what I said, but yeah, thank you for the compliment. Um,
you always
yeah,
have
so
good pithy remarks, Andy.
I
So
do, yeah. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I remember I was talking to this young woman, about my about my COVID experience and everything, and just about vaccines, and like she kind of had like this. She was kind of having the same feeling as kind of what we are having. It's like all this kind of like the response to the coronavirus has been been overblown and whatnot. And I just kindly shared my I think very moderate opinion about like the whole like vaccine mandate and like the efficacy of the vaccine and stuff. And you're gonna like this, Dark Avenger, because I'm gonna give another analogy. But I mean, now like we're the before they were touting that the vaccine has like 95% efficacy. Um, but just recently, what is it? Data from Israel is showing that it's not that effective. And Israel is the most vaccinated country in the world right now.
yep.
In terms of per capita population, like they are the most vaccinated
It's like
population.
70% or something like that.
For
It's
some,
pretty
yeah,
high.
yeah, it's very high. And numbers coming out of Israel is showing that the efficacy is actually down to like 39% efficacy. Because
Jesus.
yeah, so it's like and then even now the CDC has been coming out saying like, oh well, it's uh, yeah, it doesn't, they
It's
used to
the
say that
variant.
oh, if you're fully vaccinated, you'll be fine. But now it's like, oh yeah, like, and they were saying that, you wouldn't get symptoms if you got it, or if you wouldn't be able to transmit it. But now that, we're finding that not to be true because, all these like breakthrough cases are coming forward, or coming out, like, most notably, Melissa Joan Hart, 90s actress, Melissa Joan Hart, you know, from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, she was double vaxxed and, she still got it. And she was kind of hit pretty hard. And then even more recently, boxer Oscar De La Hoya, who was training to fight just a couple of weekends ago, he got it and got it pretty bad, like to the point where he got hospitalized.
Jesus.
Um, so kind of to bring it back to my analogy, I said like, yeah, these vaccines are kind of like, if an umbrella manufacturer came out with this umbrella and it had holes in it, and they said like, oh no, you'll be completely protected, you'll be fine, but like you still get wet, and it's like, oh well, no, well, like, yeah, but you're still mostly dry though, right? Even though there's holes in it, some of the some of the rain is coming through. It's like, but you're still mostly dry. Like, would you be rushing out to get that umbrella?
Fuck no. It, this is the thing where it's like there's so many people that are lying. It's like the government is lying. These drug manufacturers are lying. The CDC is lying. It's all these things like, and because no one actually wants to like take any sort of responsibility. And in reality, it's like this is, and once again, like we are fighting windmills for no fucking reason, and when the reality is like this is a China problem. China, like this is something that happened in though. I mean, yes, it happened in China. Although this virology lab, was funded by a variety of different people, including our own exalted Dr. Fauci and the NIH and the American government.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, just recently, what is it? Some report came out, basically saying like, yeah, Fauci funded this thing, which goes into direct conflict with what his testimony was, to Congress, saying like, oh, we did not fund
Like I
that.
said, the one guy that has been pushing back on this guy has been Rand Paul, who and he even filed paperwork to press charges against Dr. Fauci
for lying to Congress.
Himself. It's not going to go anywhere, but like, he's been the only guy. Where the fuck? Where are the other like senators that have been posturing about this, saying like, "Oh, Dr. Fauci's terrible," blah blah blah? It's like I haven't. The only one I know that's actually done something that is kind of created some backlash has been Rand Paul, the only guy. It's like I can count like on my one hand how many people have actually like
stood up against this guy. Yeah, I can count on my one hand too.
Like I said, the only guys that seem to have stood up against some of the tyranny, like as far in politics, have been Rand Paul, Ron DeSantis. That's about it.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of posturing, but actual action. Those are the two guys.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, the Republicans have a leadership problem. Frankly, there is no leadership in the Republican Party. I mean, you could say Trump is, and like, even CNN admits that Trump is running like a shadow government or whatever, and that is not as nefarious as people want to believe that to mean.
Shadow government.
Yeah.
Exactly like what kind of like, well, not Biden, but like Biden's cronies.
Right.
But
yeah. Well, like a shadow government is comes from the parliamentary system, just meaning that that another party is kind of getting its ducks in a row, in case of the current leader can't function or the current leader gets ousted.
Yeah. Well, that's essentially like kind of like what John Kerry's been doing forever.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, his is like more nefarious as opposed to what Trump is doing. Where he's just trying to build a strong base for his eventual announcement that he's going to run in 2024.
Do you really think that he's going to do that?
I wish he wouldn't.
I kind of don't. I don't think it's a. Trust me, I like Trump. I think he did a good job. He made some mistakes, but he did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a good idea. He's going to be too old.
Yeah. Well, I mean, compared to Joe Biden, even now, compared to Joe Biden, Trump's. I mean, Trump. I mean, I know they're somewhat comparable in age. I think there was like an 8-year gap between them. But Trump still, seems like he's with it.
No, don't get me wrong. He is.
Yeah.
who knows? 2 or 3 years, things could change. You don't know.
True, true. And that's what that. And if they do go like 25th Amendment on Joe, that could be a bullet in the gun for the left or the Democrats to say like, oh well, Trump is going to be the same age as Biden when he took office. You really think he's going to be capable?
Bingo. That's the thing that's going to happen. And to be honest, like if this, even if it was some like local position, I'm like, yeah, the guy's too fucking old. Like it's just like
Right, because we constantly get at the left for like these prehistoric senators or Congress people. I mean, fucking Dianne Feinstein isn't. I think Dianne Feinstein's like in her 90s, no?
She's been running. She's been a senator since before I was born, or like right around like when I was born. Too fucking long.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, yeah. She's in like. I mean, yeah. She does like the Nancy Pelosi thing where she dyes her hair, so she doesn't have any white hairs or whatever. But yeah, like they're fucking dinosaurs. They're literally fucking dinosaurs. And like we always get on the Democrats for being in Congress for that long too. So, just to be fair, we have to hold the Republicans to the same standard.
Yeah.
But yeah, like yeah, I I don't want I would rather not it be Trump because I think there's been a bit of a cult of personality around Trump. I don't I don't want to. It kind of pains me to admit the kind of like one of the talking points from the left, but it's kind of happening to Trump, and who would take over after Trump? Who would the leader be? I mean, maybe Ron DeSantis. If he doesn't join the ticket.
Yeah, because and this goes to kind of like some of the stuff that we've talked about previously. I know we had a stream that kind of got like fucked up, but essentially, like I'm willing to. I think term limits are a huge thing. We need to get rid of all these fucking old, like old political figures that are making it a career. We need to get fucking rid of them, and we're gonna end up losing some good ones, but we're gonna get rid of a lot of bad ones.
Right.
So
I remember. You talked about hard term limits. I'm more of a maybe not allowing consecutive, or kind of like the president, like but not having consecutive term or consecutive.
I am a hard like you get like 2 terms and you're out, like that's it, you're done. Because none of these positions, like state or federal, were meant to be career positions.
Right. No. Yeah. Exactly. Like if you're a congressman, you come and you be a representative for your community, and you go back. You go back to your job, or you go back to your plow, or you go back to your shop, and you be a citizen again.
Yeah, that was the intention. I want to make that a law, not like a suggestion.
Well, you'd have to amend the Constitution, like just how they did for the president.
I would push very hard for that, to be honest.
I would too.
So bad.
But
the other thing too is I really, obviously there's a minimum age for, at least for the presidency, is 35 years old. I really think that we need a cap on like maximum age. Like once you're
I know, because at the founding, 35 was considered middle age, or even older than middle age.
At that point, like
35 was older than middle age, considered older than middle age at that time.
Yeah, and 35 is fine because there are like some capable guys, people around that age that are like, okay, I could see them like doing a decent job in that position. But like we can't have a Biden situation again where he's like almost 80 years old, and he is completely senile.
Yeah, my butt is wiped.
Yeah, and it's like it's too fucking old.
Yeah.
But I would say between
Hey, you know what I heard? I heard by the time of 2024, AOC would be eligible to run as president.
Jesus Christ.
Really quick, let me read some of the chat. Where we live, yeah, Dark Avenger, because the virus comes from China. Yeah, China we need fucking reparations from China. Andy, my dude, I'm glad that you're good, man. COVID can't keep you down. Don't you know it? Go Trump 2024. Biden is a geriatric patient. Yeah.
That's true.
True. They honestly need to put an age limit to be in office. They need to stop these dinosaurs from getting in office. Yes. Dark Avenger again. Me. I want to be leader of the free world. Y'all vote for me when the time comes. I don't know. What's your platform, dude? You know,
Yeah,
I'm not.
exactly.
You can't just come into. You just can't come into our chat and be like, vote for me. I was like, you gotta persuade me. All right.
Exactly.
I mean, for those of you who don't, for those of you who didn't know, like, I wasn't initially a Trump supporter. Like, I kind of bought into the lies initially, but then after I like actually listened to him speak, it's like, huh, I agree with this guy, and I slowly, and I had all the fears that everyone else had at the time, where it's like, oh, he's just running as a Republican, but he'd just be a Democrat.
That was my concern. I mean, to me, I was like, wait, this is the guy that ran the USFL into the ground. Like, why would I vote for him?
Yeah, and I had problems with like his past, like with his womanizing and things like that. But it's just like,
I don't give a shit about that, to be honest.
Yeah, but then it just became less and less important, and even when they try to get him with like the Stormy Daniels stuff, I was like, damn, it's on record that our president had an affair with a porn star. It kind of makes him awesome.
Well, exactly. I mean, he's essentially JFK. I mean, it's
just JFK with just like more confirmation. Yeah. We all know JFK was a homo.
That's. That. There is a lot of smoke to that fire.
I know, right? Especially after that video.
Dude, I think that there's a lot of smoke to that fire. Maybe like okay, at probably a bisexual. I'm gonna say bisexual.
I'm gonna stick to my gun and say full blown homo.
Ooh, okay, all right. Dude, you're gonna piss off a lot of boomers on that one.
I know.
Okay.
I don't care.
Anyways,
I don't care.
But no, the
wait, hold on, Dark Avenger. You already know where I stand. Do we though?
I think I know who Dark Avenger is.
Okay.
I think. I could be wrong.
Uh-huh.
But but seriously, we can't allow like 80-year-olds to run for these offices. We can't do it. It's just too.
No,
you're too old.
I mean,
I would say like between 35 and 65. That's it.
Yeah, that's a nice window.
And if you can't get into office by that point, like get the fuck out. You know, we don't. It's not because you're not useful to society. That's not what we're saying.
No, of course not. Yeah,
these
but it's
are
just
very stressful positions where you hold a lot of sway over people's lives, especially if you're the president. You're the commander in chief. You potentially send people into battle. You know, and literally lives are in your hands. If you
I mean, just recently, I mean, you had the ultimate example of leadership failure with those 13 service members who died. in the suicide attack, and just like
Yeah.
they shouldn't have even been there, you know. And I mean, yes, ultimately, they could, the media will come out and say like, oh, well, he was just going by the advice of his advisors or whatever. So really, it's the advisor's fault. It's like, no, he fucking made the decision though. Like, yeah, it's like one of the military advisors could have advised him on what to do, but he ultimately made that decision.
And there's a lot of speculation. I don't know how true it is, but I would not be surprised that there was a lot of disrespect on by Biden to a lot of those families that were that were affected by that, like with the soldiers that were killed, and he was very disrespectful. Uh, not even like just disrespectful, but he was kind of a fucking prick. Uh, so I mean, there's a lot of speculation on that, and the guy
Yeah,
just
no.
give two fucks. And here's the thing: it's like, am I a fan that we were over in Afghanistan? Do I feel like that we needed to be there? No, but that's not how that evacuation was handled. How we handled that. That was not how that should have been handled. We could have done that way better. And the problem is like you have to even go back, 15, 20 years now where you didn't have a strategy going in. You just went in and
Right,
then
or you had like the fig leaf of saying, oh, we're going after Osama bin Laden.
okay, we got him.
Yeah.
Like and here's the thing, it's like you go into it, and this is the same problem that we had in Vietnam, where like you go in, you have a plan, like we're gonna execute this plan, we're gonna kill the enemy, and then we're gonna get the fuck out. I mean, obviously, like there are certain cases where you kind of leave behind a skeleton crew, but you
Mm-hmm.
get the fuck out. And oh, well, they're gonna come back. Okay, when that happens, you go back in and you kill them again. And then you get out. Like we don't need to be there for generations. Yeah, people talk about like in history. Oh, there's been like the 100 Years War, and there's been all these like wars that lasted generations. But
Right,
that's
but it was not like the 100 Years War wasn't like on an industrial scale where it was a meat grinder. It was dudes like on horseback with swords and bows and arrows, and like the daily casualty count was not what it is today. It was like maybe like 100 guys a day. During the 100 Years War, 100 guys a day, as opposed to like the thousands and like tens of thousands that we had like in World War I, World War II, or even
yeah. World War II is like one of the bloodiest wars that we were ever in. It was just yikes. But the thing is, like, it's like you have to have like, and you need to like, the the press and the politicians need to stay the fuck out of it. You have a winning strategy. It's war is a it is not pleasant. It's not pleasant.
you know
You kill the enemy and then you get the fuck out.
someone pointed this out, that since the establishment of uh, the Pentagon, America's never won a war.
Hmm.
Since the establishment of the organization, not necessarily not the building, but like the organization, the Pentagon. America hasn't won a war since World War II.
Nope. Because Korea, you could argue
Korea
that
was a tie.
it's funny, and we're gonna talk about this probably starting next week because we're gonna review Patton, and
Mm.
I have a few things that I'm gonna bring up that like where it's like Patton was right in a lot of ways that he was uh he kind of got like pushed off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
But guys like Patton and MacArthur were right. Were they? I wouldn't call them warmongers, but they could read the room. They knew where the problems were, and
Mm-hmm.
they knew like we need to eliminate this before it becomes a bigger problem. and he was right. They were both right in a lot of ways, because we shouldn't have had a Cold War with the Soviets. We
Mhm.
shouldn't have had a problem with Korea the way that we did. But like I said, once the politicians start to get involved, once the press starts to get involved, and people are like, "Ooh, it's so scary" and stuff like that. And the other thing that, like, people don't realize, that Vietnam really, like, it started as, like, we were trying to help a resistance in South Vietnam against the communists. We were training their troops. It started in '59, so this
Right.
was
It was
back.
a completely advisory
It was an
kind of.
advisory thing that was started by Eisenhower, and then Eisenhower and Kennedy hated each other, so they didn't talk. And so then Kennedy gets oh, we have troops over there. Oh, okay, I guess we'll just kind of keep going with that. And it was kind of like, conflicts kept happening and stuff. And as times progressed, then obviously Kennedy was killed, and then where Vietnam really became like the Vietnam War was during
Under
the time
Johnson.
of Johnson. And that's where things got really where it was at. And that's right around, like, where all, like, the rioting was going on, all the protests, and it just it was not a good time.
Hmm.
But like, I know people that were in Vietnam that says we were making progress against these guys, and because the politicians and the press were so involved, that things escalated to the point where, like, it ended up where we essentially not lost, but we lost the war.
Right. Well, yeah. Like I remember, I forget where I saw this film, but it might have been like a documentary or something. But they said like the moment they lost the war in Vietnam was when like news reports about the war were on TV every single night.
Yep.
Uh, and they're constantly being shown like these images of war and like and civilian deaths and things like that. And that's when uh, the tide of the war, at least at home, shifted. Like support for the war shifted.
I think the same thing would have happened, like, if that same type of coverage was happening during, like, World War II,
Mm.
we would have lost that war.
Yeah. Really quickly, we got some super chat, or not super chats, but just regular chat. JFK loved the butt sex. He sure did. Nancy Pelosi needs to pull those dentures out and just put the bottle down. Agreed.
Well, she's always dentures a clacking.
I know, right? Oh, that constant like readjusting in her mouth, like.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah. Um,
But
oh, we are. Yeah, but that's it. Yeah, but what you were saying about like Patton and stuff. Yeah, like not to paint them as warmongers, but that Patton and MacArthur, they were like the warrior's warrior. They knew like where it was all gonna eventually lead to. And there's this once, and and it's like those men had initiative, and like they were willing to go to, they were willing to go to that level or to that place to ensure victory, and
yeah,
and ultimately they were thinking about the safety of of the West or America or what have you. Where they saw like what yes, it would have been this horrible, this horrible tragedy to go and like bomb the shit out of like Russia or whatever. But they knew that it would have been better than to be in like this like how you said the Cold War, where it basically be death by 1,000 cuts. But yeah, I remember I just recently heard this story about Patton, where the German military structure was really really convoluted. where it's like sometimes you had like two bosses, and then you have to like get you know you have to get authorization from this one boss, but then this other boss from like this completely different command structure can come in and override that. Um, but in World War and the West side, particularly America, like it had a very simple like structure. It's like you had there's your commanding officer. It's like straight up and down. But Patton, he had to cross this. Uh, he came upon the city that he had to get through to get to another city that he had to get to, and he got on the line and got all the way to Ike and said like, hey, can we take this village? And it was taking Ike too long to get back to him, and so Patton took that village anyways. And by the time Eisenhower responded, Patton responded, I already took this village. You want me to give it back?
Yeah, I mean, and Pat, in the movie, we see that moment.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, Patton is it's with Dorsey Scott. It is probably the best movie about Patton. It is as close to reality as possible.
Uh-huh.
It's great. I can't wait for you to watch it. This is one
Yeah,
of my grandfather's
yeah.
movies.
For some reason, like I always get like start Patton, but I never able to finish it.
Dude, it's a great movie. It's a little bit long, but it's great.
Right. Message from Dark Avenger. There should be no media from wherever there is a war. They just show the bad that is going on and not the good. Agreed.
100% true.
You are correct, sir. Um,
But I really don't have too much else to say. I mean, obviously we don't have a movie review today. It was just more of a.
I mean, well, we did talk a shit ton of movies though.
Well, that is true, but we didn't actually have like a full on like movie review.
We did it. Yeah, we decided to leave out the movie review because it's like there was a lot of stuff that was happening in the news, and so I mean, we could talk about like the supposed vax mandate handed down by the president himself.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, and there's like all these exceptions. Like fucking Congress doesn't have to follow it because it's an executive order and it didn't go through Congress. So Congress doesn't have to follow it. And also people in the in the postal service, they could opt out of it, which so fuckers like you don't have to take it, but like if you fucking snorted.
Because I know it pisses you off, Andy.
I know.
But it pisses me off too, because like there's so many places like you shouldn't. I would say like go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, and like the whole and now like the supposed like applying a pressure to the private sector where it's like, oh, if you have 100 employees, then yeah, you have to mandate it, and it's like, oh, now they're gonna get OSHA involved, and if you don't, then it's gonna be like $14,000 a day fine until you comply. It's like, go fuck yourself. And that's what I've been saying from the very beginning. Like, back when it was just like masks. I was just like, just don't comply. And I know a bunch of people.
What I hope businesses do, like, okay, we're at 100. All right, we're going to 99.
I know. It's like, all right, who wants to go on like paid leave for a little bit? All right, it's like,
yeah.
Say, oh, we only have 99. Don't have to follow. Go screw off. There's so many workarounds about this, but ultimately it's just like don't comply. And again, that's something I've been advocating for since the very beginning. Like especially like the whole mask things. Like the masks don't make sense, and it was never about health. About keeping people safe or whatever. It's just to show like who's on board.
Yeah, this thing is endemic. It's
right. It's mundane. It's part of this world now. We can't. It's stupid that we're treating it as though like it's just this new thing. it's this new thing, and like that we can somehow get a handle on it. It's like, because if we do, then we just become a fucking Australia, where they basically said like, oh, we want to get to like no cases. Like that's
One
fucking
case,
retarded.
whole fucking country.
Yeah, and I mean, and then fucking New Zealand with their fucking bitch ass bitch of a leader. Saying like they shut down the country again over one case.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, and in Australia should be the case, for why you never give up your guns.
Bingo.
Yeah, because I mean, right now, I mean, because what was it recently, or just like last year, they put out the figures of people who applied for hunting licenses,
Mm-hmm.
and it was more than like the entirety of the army. So just private citizens, applying or getting their hunting licenses, it it's more than our army.
Yep.
The United States Army. So that's why they don't go full authoritarian and like have troops marching down the streets. Is because it's the reason why Japan didn't try to invade the mainland.
There's
The Japanese admiral who said it's like behind every blade of grass in America is a gun.
Yep.
Dark Avenger is like, well, Rob, who am I?
I know you are.
Yeah, but for the sake of we're not about outing people here. Another one from Dark Avenger. They can lick my gooch if they think I'm getting the vaccine. Words to live by. Words to live by.
Yeah, I got really nothing else for like today, unless you have something. But this was good to do, man. I miss having you around. I miss having this outlet. I can't wait for next Tuesday. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I miss doing this too. Although I will admit it was nice to have a little bit of respite. Um, Especially, I mean, not that I didn't enjoy watching movies or anything, but I definitely needed a break, and I just it was nice to just kind of shut my brain off a little bit and like watch movies, uh, without having to really think about it critically, or um, oh, but I did want to mention that podcast that I watched. They actually did do Sicario, and uh, they pointed out something that I think we might have missed in our review of it.
Which
In
was
that in that 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 Kate Mercer was actually the villain of the story.
ooh, that's interesting.
Right, because and she was the most realistic portrayal of a woman in a male dominated profession.
I might have to watch that again. Think with that in mind.
Yeah, because
I
they literally because she was terrible. She was terrible at her job. Let's just
She was.
right, and for some like she was still stuck on this idea of like, oh, we can't do this. We have to be morally correct. And even in her command structure, like at the FBI, they were saying like, oh, if you're worried about being out of bounds, don't, because there is, it's like you're like there are no bounds. Remember when they had like that quick meeting with like her boss, and
That's
she was
right.
having
Yeah.
like she was feeling ambivalent about like everything that she was seeing or being a part of, and he was like saying, "Oh yeah, don't worry. Like, if you're worried you're out of the bounds, don't worry, because there are no bounds."
I'm
And
gonna
so
have to watch that with that in mind. I did not think of that.
yeah, and I mean, and Brolin like basically laid it out to her, saying like, you know, uh, what's better, to have chaos or to control the chaos, which is essentially what they're doing because they were taking out this one cartel to prop up another one that they can control.
Right.
And so, and for some reason, like she just couldn't get around, like she just couldn't get her wrap her mind around that. It's like, all like I don't fucking care because I know no woman watches this podcast, but yeah, it's like
I care.
because huh?
I care.
But you don't care. But you mostly agree with what I have to say, anyways. But
yeah, well, I think that's a very interesting thought because that's a different angle on the movie because obviously she's our main character, but if she's kind of the villain, that's interesting.
Right, because like it's funny because like they were using her the entire time because there was that question like they asked her like if she had a kid or she had a family and she's like no, and then like what do? They use her to root out that the John Bernthal character like who she was about to fucking sleep with until she found out that his connection to the cartels. And but then like she was like. Yeah, she was shit at her job. She couldn't see the bigger picture. And she was like stuck on like this idea of like legality and morality and in that world you can't operate like that.
Yeah.
So technically Kate was the villain.
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to watch the movie again.
Yeah, me too.
No, it was a good break. I kind of, it was nice to have it. I'm glad that we're back. I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, no, this is a good, I think this was a solid return episode.
Yeah. And we'll come back strong. We got a lot of good movies. We got a lot of good news topics. We got a lot going on.
Yeah, now that I'm not dying anymore. Last message from Dark Avenger. Rob, you're gonna have to set some time for you being on with me.
Yeah. I'll do that. We'll do some gaming together.
All right. I mean, yeah, you could reveal to me at when we get off, but. Yeah, but this is a solid, comeback episode. It's also great that I'm not, dying.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, although I think I should be given some credit because, up until, I was in the hospital, we still had that last episode.
You toughed it out.
I toughed it out. I mean, I was barely there. You were talking. I just remember I was like just trying to not look like I'm dying, and and you did most of the talking. But
I mean, we did talk about a great movie, Lured. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was actually a good one. Yeah, and it was nice to see Lucille Ball outside of like the Lucy character.
Yeah, that's what I was excited about.
Yeah, that was a really fun movie. And then we also did Heart's War too. That's a good movie.
Yeah,
I really like that movie.
Well, why don't you send us off, Andy, and then we'll call it a night.
All right. Well, yeah, that'll do it for us tonight. Yeah, it was a shorter show than what we're used to doing, but maybe that's a good thing. I want to thank the viewers, especially Dark Avenger. Thank you for being for being in the chat. Thank you for your comments, adding to the discussions. Don't forget to come back next week where we will resume our usual program of movie reviews and current event topics and and
we're gonna watch Patton. We're gonna
watch Patton and we're gonna see some awesome American badassery.
Dude, that movie is great. I love it.
So come back for that. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we thank you again for joining us, and we'll do it all again next week.